totally safe. Kids aren't gonna see this.
We want Cred! Where is it? We want Cred! We want Cred! There's some right there! Start the car! Start the car!
Well, the problem is you guys buy your kids phones, okay? Just like you buy them all these unhealthy hydration drinks.
Drink Cred or you're a piece of... Whee!
If you don't have Cred, then everyone around you loses all their Cred!
Well, what I really want to do is beat my wife.
Who do you work for? Who's trying to influence me?
South Park decided to end 2023 with a bang, dropping a new special that called out Logan Paul, Prime, OF, as in odd future. And honestly, they pretty much called out influencers in general, alongside themselves to an extent. And it's all due to one common denominator: kids. But as usual, they effortlessly combined their blunt commentary with hilariously crude yet clever antics that come together in a way that's very on brand for South Park.
Because I'm a sovereign citizen and I don't need to tell you anything.
God, I love Randy. I'm itching to talk about everything this special had to offer, from Cred to Randy's hustle to even... minors?
Oh, God.
But before I unpack any of that, I need to unpack why the hell this special basically dropped with little to no fanfare. But if you don't care about any of that, just skip to this timestamp.
I can't feel my face!
Not Suitable is a special that feels like it came pretty much out of nowhere, but you may already know that it's a much messier story than that. To quickly recap, South Park Studios has a deal with Paramount to deliver 2 specials a year on their platform. This year, we got the Paniverse special during October, but for a minute, it kinda seemed like we weren't getting another special before the end of 2023. They have a track record of announcing specials at least 2 weeks ahead of time. Yet we were in the middle of December with no announcements in sight. And to make things weirder, producer and lead storyboard artist Greg Postma posted about the episode being done earlier in the month. So if the episode was already done, was there something holding it up? Well, definitely. Last weekend, YouTube started advertising the Not Suitable special before videos, playing a teaser nobody had seen before for a special we knew nothing about until this point. And the cherry on top? The teaser claimed the special was already streaming, with the description mentioning a release date of December 13th, a few days earlier in the week. Let me tell you, I opened up Paramount Plus, and it straight up wasn't there. Then, after I made my video about the situation, fans reported sightings of not only new ads popping up over the internet, but physical posters and billboards around major cities like New York, revealing the Prime parody with a new release date of December 20th. That was in like 3 days. But sure enough, the special dropped on December 20th, a little bit after midnight on the East Coast. With Paramount and the South Park team staying silent on the matter, our best bet on figuring out what happened and why this special was delayed lies within the special itself. And honestly, I think it has to do with Randy. We all know South Park as a show that does and says whatever the hell it wants. And for the most part that flies on Comedy Central, a cable channel that's only become more lax over the years as more people cut the cord. Even then, South Park's had to meet the S&P halfway, although they still get away with a lot more antics than your average adult cartoon. But Paramount Plus is a different beast, mostly because they're desperate for money, and they exist on the internet, not cable. Why do these factors matter? Well, because Paramount Plus doesn't just rely on subscriptions, they're also supported by ads. If you choose their basic tier, which I assume most people would. I don't have another $12 for a streaming service, I don't know what to tell you. And if you heard of a little something called the adpocalypse, you'll know that if your content isn't deemed advertiser friendly, then those advertisers can pull the rug out from under a platform's feet and take their business elsewhere. All of this is to say, Paramount Plus is kinda bitch made. Not only have they pulled classic episodes of SpongeBob off the platform in the US, but internationally, not only is there reportedly a ton of South Park episodes missing, but they even pulled episodes of Avatar: The Last Airbender. And the only reason they're not pulled in the US is because those shows aren't on Paramount Plus. Yet. In my opinion, it's very apparent that Paramount is afraid of pissing off advertisers and customers because they want to be a squeaky clean family-friendly platform like Disney+, but they also know they can't just not capitalize on adult animation when they own South Park. And I think this is the first time those two agendas have collided with each other. This episode's B-plot is centered around Randy having an OF, and there's numerous scenes of his uncensored shaft on display, and I think Paramount tried to push back on that latter half. Come on, be real. Matt and Trey fighting with Paramount to keep Randy's dick intact just sounds like another Wednesday for them. But maybe there's a little bit more than that. I think what's most telling is how this special is being advertised now that it's released. Only one ad focuses on the OF plot, the ad that first circulated through YouTube, while everything else focuses on the Cred story. My own conclusion is that Paramount got cold feet over the idea of marketing this special through its OF subplot because, ironically enough, they were afraid of kids seeing it and the implications that could have, which could ultimately upset advertisers. What happens if a family gathers around the TV for a movie night, decides to give Paramount Plus a whirl, only to get this ad beforehand? How long before parents with a stick up their ass storm social media with angry tweets directed at Paramount? So they backed down from the original December 13th release and quickly reworked the marketing campaign to focus on Cred, portraying the special as more of a dig on Prime than it is a satire of OF, staying in the good graces of advertisers in the process. Granted, they kept the formerly leaked ad on their channel, so maybe they're still running it on videos, which throws a wrench in this whole theory, but I really don't know what else it could be. If you have any ideas on how this all shook out, share them in the comments. But enough yapping about this, let's talk about the actual episode. And to kick things off, I got a question for ya. Got Cred? If I had a nickel for every time a South Park special opened up with Cartman waking up, I'd have 2 nickels. Which isn't a lot, but it's weird that it's happened twice, right? This special hits the ground running by giving us another Cartman song that's all about Cred, a new hydration drink that has ensnared the students at South Park Elementary in a vicious battle for social validation. It is insane. Cartman's fridge is stocked with all sorts of crazy flavors, and he's got a backpack rig to keep 2 bottles on deck at all times. This fucker Spencer can fit 4! Nathan obviously was going to be in his bag with this. Bro thinks he's Walter White. Tolkien's dipping his fries in Cred, which honestly seems like a depression meal. Get through that, buddy. Everybody's rocking Cred. It's like the thing to drink right now. Man, imagine not drinking Cred. I couldn't think of taking such a colossal L at— Clyde doesn't have Cred?
Thanks a lot for making sure your son is the only kid in school without any cred!
Okay, this actually transported me back to grade school, and all the times I felt isolated because I didn't have the new game everyone else was playing, or brought a packed lunch on the days everyone else was eating pizza. Very minuscule things that didn't mean shit in the long run, but when you're that young, and your only responsibilities are homework and hashing out your Christmas list, that stuff weighs on you. The social aspect of school feels more crucial than any math test, and I really like how this special leans into that. It adds a charm to the show that a lot of people argue has been lost over the years. While South Park definitely hasn't shied from tackling the world today through the lens of a kid, TikTok and ChatGPT being examples from just this year, a common criticism has been that the kids kinda just feel like mini adults now. That they don't even act like kids anymore. Instead, mouthpieces for what Matt and Trey have to say. While I don't fully agree, it's a fair sentiment to have when we go from Cartman getting belittled by Randy for trying to be a cop, to the boy effortlessly becoming a real estate agent and a successful entrepreneur with no one questioning him. But I think this special manages to be a great return to form in that aspect by focusing on something that affects kids more than anyone else. This premise forces all the major players in the story to be kids who are in over their heads, which lends itself to feeling more like those golden years of the show. Yet, in spite of this vintage vibe the special has, it's also the first time the South Park crew has really felt like a reflection of Gen Alpha, because they get to show how these relatively new things, like influencer branded products, can actually have a lasting impact on a kid's social life. It's honestly really eye-opening for me as someone who doesn't have kids. But yet, reflecting on my own experiences in middle school and high school, when the internet became a bit more ingrained into everyday life, I can completely understand why these kids became obsessed with Cred. Why is Cred such a big deal? Why does Logan promoting it have such a ripple effect on kids to the point where they're killing each other to get their hands on it? Well, they give us the answer pretty early on when Clyde is watching one of Logan's vlogs. Side note, Clyde is logged into his dad's account, which is a hilarious detail given how a running gag in this special is that kids obviously lie about their age online and it screws with the metrics. Also, all of these titles and thumbnails had me rolling. From challenges to a giant red arrow, the team behind South Park is really locked into YouTube's current landscape. They could be watching right now. Content creators have largely replaced big-name actors as role models, and they've replaced television as a primary form of entertainment. Most kids don't grow up with cable, and streaming largely prefers the binge model. Shows don't stay in the zeitgeist for too long. They have the same staying power as movies now. Nowadays, you'll watch one, see a few memes about it, and then in a month or two, people have already moved on to the next one. When it comes to entertainment, influencers have become the consistent presence in a kid's life. They're the one who are occupying kids' free time year-round instead of an ongoing television season. And it's arguably way more enticing because it's real people living these dream lives that kids can project onto. Logan's content panders to kids by targeting their common insecurities and frustrations. The feelings of loneliness, not being accepted, and being misunderstood by older generations. Now, talking about these things isn't bad in isolation. The problem arises when he slips in calls to action between his points and tries to spin product placement as a solution to these issues. By the way, did you know that only -5% of you are subscribed to the channel? LeDouche markets himself as a relatable, vulnerable role model that kids can look up to, while also setting impossible standards for them to reach. I mean, just look at his state-of-the-art studio with some pretty impressive life achievements just chilling on the wall. Humble flex. He's literally dressed by his sponsors. From his headphones to his underwear, trying to appear as relatable to your low to middle class audience, while at the same time flexing your high class lifestyle, is never going to feel authentic to anyone but kids. And their takeaway is gonna be, I want to be cool like Logan. He has it all, and he keeps it pushing through the drama. But I don't have any money to get designer shoes, and I'm too young to drive a fancy sports car. But I can get my mom to buy me a drink. They sell it right down the street. Logan's the face of this drink, Logan is cool, and I want to be cool. And of course, this quickly snowballs into every kid showing off their cred, letting everyone know that they're cool, and people like Hartman overcompensating, hoping to win everyone's approval, because everyone already hated him. And I love the escalation throughout this special. Clyde buys some cred off Nathan. It's a bootleg. He tries to redeem himself by scoring some limited edition mega cred. It makes Black Friday look like light work.
Start the car! Start the car!
When they track down Logan for answers, they find out what we already knew. He was only in it for the money. He didn't promote this stuff because he truly believed in it. He promoted it because he believed that it would make him richer. He wasn't concerned about the impact it'd have on kids until the damage was already done. A theme that this special also explores with Randy. Logan, like many influencers, has made himself a vehicle for companies to push their products through. The last leg of this special feels like it's rehashing Japanese Toilet just a tad, especially since we just got that episode earlier this year, but I still enjoyed it. Clyde's stepmom Janice being the one trying to influence Clyde was a cool twist. It shows how parents kinda just leave it to creators on the internet to raise their kids for them. Before, you could just stick them in front of a TV when you needed a breather. Now you can just shove an iPad in their face at any inconvenience. And then they can just get mad at the creator when they say or do something the parents didn't like.
I just wanted to be a good influence on you, Clyde. But influencing kids these days requires good lighting and a quality microphone.
I was surprised to learn that this special didn't exaggerate the carnage that went down for this drink, at least as much as you would have assumed. Now, prior to this special, I wasn't completely out of the loop with Prime. I remember the announcement and thinking it was absolutely surreal seeing it pop up at my gym. And I tried Prime Energy before on a day where I didn't have pre-workout. It was alright, but I don't think I'd come back to it. Celsius is my current jam. Gotta die before 40, you feel? But I was absolutely clueless that Prime had this chokehold on children. But after looking into it, it makes perfect sense. I kind of assumed all the Paul Brother fans from back in the day just kind of grew up and moved on, but obviously when they age out of that demographic, more kids would age into that demographic. And now that he's been boxing for some time, it makes sense that he would capitalize on that without losing his target audience. There are more and more kids getting into fitness culture at a young age thanks to the advent of gym talk. Which, to be clear, I obviously don't think hitting the gym is a bad thing, but I do imagine you're gonna hold yourself to very high standards if you're in middle school or high school, and you're seeing a bunch of jack teens on the internet. But staying on topic, obviously the bright colors and candy-like flavors are going to appeal to kids and teens more than adults. When I first saw the billboard for this special, I thought that Cred was going to be Credagree's take on Prime, Tolkien's dad expanding markets to cash in on people who are too young to buy weed, which could have been fun. But no, it's just straight up about Logan Paul, or I'm sorry, Logan LeDouche. But really, I think there's a reason they don't just say Logan Paul, despite it clearly being him, and mention that Prime is its own separate entity. It's the same reason why Andrew Tate popped up in this year's season finale, but was called Alonzo Fininski, or why Harry and Meghan were Canadian and never referred to by name. It's all just Paramount trying to dodge a lawsuit since, again, they're pretty bitch made. Keep in mind, it's only the celebrities being criticized that have name changes now, whereas before the show just didn't care. Plenty of influencers portrayed in this special had their actual names used, but I think someone at legal is concerned that if a celebrity has their fifis hurt, then they can't actually be called out by name. Even though celebrities, especially influencers, usually see being parodied by South Park as a badge of honor. Even Logan Paul seemed pretty flattered by this special, recreating the Cred ad pretty much immediately, and while it seems like the point definitely flew over his head, do you really think it's news to Logan that he's a douche who profits off of children? I thought that was like his whole brand. Anyways, I don't know if the kids learned anything from all of this, but Randy definitely did. So let's talk about our favorite man-child. The B-plot has Randy on the other side of the discourse, as he's inspired to start an OF after learning that Mrs. Streeble is making bank running one on the side.
What the fuck?
I love how they use a random teacher who's only had like 2 speaking appearances. Randy's become very money motivated in recent years, so honestly this episode just kinda wrote itself. From Randy's absolutely unhinged content, to the auction that had me in stitches, to him being overly critical of Shannon's content, overlooking the fact that she's getting absolutely destroyed by another man. But I mean, we know how Randy created the virus, and he told Sharon to start an OF in the first place, so I guess he gave her a pass in the name of money. Alright Randy22, I see you. Even though this subplot is mostly just great rapid-fire comedy that reiterates the message a lot, it really couldn't have come at a more perfect time given the current state of social media. As Randy tries to diverse his OF content in the hopes of expanding his audience, he ends up pandering to kids after incorporating Cred, but he denies such a correlation could even exist, since Cred says it's not suitable for children.
According to Meta and TikTok, their audience is predominantly people over the age of 22. That means it's not kids who care about Cred, it's adults who want to see my dick.
Of course, this is also poking fun at the show itself, how South Park has always been an adult animated series that happens to appeal to children through its simple art style and bright color palette. Certainly what made me a fan at 6 years old. No one has as much free time and as little responsibility as kids, which is why they make up a strong majority of the internet. Right now, Twitter is the worst it's ever been, and a huge factor as to why is the erotic spam bots and invasive OF models who bombard the replies of any popular tweet with pictures and videos of them getting their back blown out. There's even accounts that will promote models under the guise of a roast, prompting said models to reply to the tweet with, you guessed it, another snippet of content, being boosted to the top thanks to Elon's pay-to-win system. Now don't get me wrong, I love titty and I love ass, but there's a time and a place, and the replies of a stolen viral tweet just ain't one of them. Because there are kids on this site, bro, and there's a difference between promoting content on your 18+ page and promoting content under the replies of some random guy's tweet or a gimmick account that's meant for everyone. This special makes the argument that if kids are the main ones being exposed to this, then they're also the ones who are gonna be buying it. Which is really bad, because kids are impressionable and copy what they see. You know what I mean? It was a perspective I never really considered before, and you know what? I'll just take South Park's word for it. Overall, I think this is one of my favorite specials so far, right below the 2 post-COVID specials, and above Panderverse and the Streaming Wars. Although the Streaming Wars are the only pair of specials that I don't really care for. I really like how they switched up the cast for this one, giving Clyde and Cartman the spotlight, which definitely makes sense for a story like this, since I couldn't see Stan or Kyle getting as invested in Cred, although they clearly care enough to stay strapped. I adore how Randy has the big "what I learned today" speech that usually goes to Kyle, as it cements the responsibility adults and influencers have in this situation. It wouldn't have made as much sense for one of the kids to have the big speech. And from a production standpoint, this special was crazy. Although we didn't get any spectacular redesigns for the characters this time around, the team really went the extra mile during the big store stampede and its aftermath. And I love how the influencers at the auction were designed in great detail, with things like the ripped jeans, styled hair, and AirPod Maxes. And I'ma just say it, the ball physics on Randy were wild. It's not the first time we've seen them, but it certainly felt like the boldest. This was a pretty solid end to 2023, and the most controversial season of South Park in years. But as always, these are just my thoughts, and I'd love to hear yours. Where does the special rank amongst the others for you? Do you think everything landed, or did they miss the mark a little bit? Let me know in the comments down below, and keep the conversation going over on Twitter and Insta at OpstricVox. If you enjoyed this video, please throw it a like, and subscribe to the Roundtable for more great cartoon content. Thank you for watching, and I hope you have an awesome day. See ya!